Go ahead. Go ahead. Explain what is there.
Our project is designed for physical education mainly, but it has also concepts and objectives about English, science, and I don't know, any other thing. Okay. It's designed for the second cycle of primary education, but it's able to be used in first cycle and third cycle if you change just a couple of things. And next.
Well, the time structure, basically, for the basic activities that we will talk about later, we will use like around 2 or 3 weeks in the different subjects that we're going to work, but we need to do something throughout the whole year, because by the end of the year we're going to present the final product, which is an exposition with certain measurements that we're going to talk about later, and a PowerPoint presentation, and like a mini book and a poster. Okay? So basically the time structure is 2-3 weeks for most of the things, and the whole year for taking some measurements, and the final by the end of the year, like the presentation in groups.
Okay. How will we organize the groups? We think that the best number of children in each group is 4, because to take the measurements we need 4 people. 1 is the subject, 2 takes measurements, they measure the body. The last one write down the different notes, different measurements. So we think that is the perfect number.
Well, the objectives to achieve is to learn that the human body changes through our lives, especially when we are young. We are talking about young students. To know how much they have done out in 1 year, to be able to work in groups to learn something, to respect the difference of others, because some students can be very tall or some very short, it doesn't matter, and to improve their ICT skills. It's also possible using different presentations.
So basically, with the project, what we want the kids to learn is how their body changes. So they're going to measure themselves throughout the year to see how they change. So in all the subjects that you can see here, the different contents that we want to work, well, you can see them all, but basically we start in physical education because everything starts there. So how the body is divided, or how it changes by the human body, and their own physical self-awareness. Then in natural science, the same thing, the human body, the division of the body, the different parts of the body, the stages of life and everything, and the different tools that you can use to measure how you're measure different parts of the body. And in English, well, the specific vocabulary related to the human body, different parts, different actions, the words related to measurement like height and weight, then basic comparatives like bigger and longer, shorter than, and so on, and structures such as he is 5 centimeters, or the arm is 5 centimeters long, or whatever. Then in arts and crafts, because we will also use that subject to represent the different body parts of the body with using different supports like passaging or drawing. Then, as we need to include cultural contents, we thought that it would be a very good moment to introduce the differences between Spain and the rest of the world, or UK and America, as far as measurement units is concerned. So, because we use meters and centimeters, but in America they use pounds, inches, feet, and those.
Oh, that's right.
Then the ICTs, of course, use of files, images, because they will take pictures, or different softwares to display images, or to present information like PowerPoint or Prezi, and the whiteboard and the overhead projectors and all those things for displaying the information.
Okay, we have some writing questions, which are the ones that are going to follow on the project. And they are what I am going to be by the end of the academic year. That's what they have to think at the beginning. So, think. Okay. And are you going to be shorter or taller than me? Are we going to be the same? I'm going to be the same, I'm going to be taller. They have to think about how are they going to change, and then they have to check and realize of the change.
Okay. The activities that we propose, they are different in each subject. In physical education, first they measure their height, their arm spans, their weight, and the shoe size in 4 different points. In October, in January, April, and
June.
at the end in June. And then they compare different measurements.
Mhm.
In natural science, we make activities with matching, labeling, watching videos to present the basic concepts. In English, we make activities like vocabulary games, flashcards, songs, chants, permanents, and TPR activities like Simon Says, writing activities like worksheets, and in arts and crafts, drawing and coloring, and modeling with plastic.
What ICT are we going to use? Well, we are going to use, of course, a camera for pictures, for photos, computer and whiteboard to display the photos. ICT with PowerPoint, Prezi. There are different types of presentation, but most of them are going to use PowerPoint or Prezi with pictures of them doing the activity. And finally, posters with different pictures. It's also another possibility.
Okay, the final product, each group has to do a presentation by the end of the year with the results they have recorded, and they will prepare a global presentation like this with the evolution of the different body parts they have measured and the notes they have taken. They can do it by the means of a presentation in the ICTs, comparing different photos, or with a mini book in which they draw themselves in a scale with the different measures, or with a big cardboard model with pictures.
All right.
Okay, and finally the evaluation, we'll use like a rubric, we talked before, like a big chart with all the different aspects that we want to assess, like cognitive aspects, the different contents that have been worked, linguistic aspects, all these things. Then we will also evaluate the personal work and the group work, as it is a project and they are working groups, we also have to take that into account. The different aptitudes work, and of course the different works is written materials that we've used, and written exercises and the participation.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.